Hey, welcome everybody. This is Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is Christ and Culture. I want to welcome all to the broadcast today. I hope everybody's doing well today. It's Christmas time. Christmas time in the city, and we are just so excited about this Christmas season and what the Lord is going to do. I hope you are too. But I got to be very honest with you guys. I mean, how many of you are really ready for Christmas? I've been trying. I really have been trying to at least buy stuff for Christmas and stuff like that, and just have not been able to make it. So I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to get my acting gear, because we've got 2 weeks to go. For those of you, this might be the first time you're checking out the show. I'm Pastor Sherman. This is Christ and Culture Show. We come to you once a week, talk to you about some of the things that are going on in the culture and how we as Christians should be looking at it, and hopefully how not only just looking at it, but how do we respond to a world that's just going sideways. And if this might be your first time checking out the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. And if you are watching us on godstream.org, definitely watch us on godstream.org. Want to bring on the show, folks, my partner in crime, Pastor Tommy Allums. Pastor Tommy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Pastor Sherman. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Just another beautiful day, man. I'll tell you. And it's always good. It's always good seeing Pastor Tommy. So people think that we're brothers here, folks, and right?
We do look alike.
We look a lot alike. Except for I'm the elder, of course. You can tell I've got a little gray, but we could pass for brothers. We
could.
Yeah. And I think when your daughter saw me, she goes, I think he looks like my dad.
She did say that one day when she was watching the video.
That's it. Yes, we do. We're probably from the same tribe someplace, and got the same shape head and that kind of thing.
But actually, yeah, we're from the tribe of Judah.
There you go. Tribe of Judah. That's right. So we're spiritual brothers, and probably someplace along the line. So how's your week been going?
Yeah, it's a little slow. Christmas time, end of the year, it's usually a little bit slower, but yeah, it's still good.
Yeah, well, good. I'll tell you.
I'm still saved.
Still saved, full of the Holy Ghost, right?
Amen.
Amen. And now, do you guys do a lot of presents at your house for Christmas?
No, I don't celebrate too hard during Christmas.
Yeah.
When you got a large family, you kind of got to reconsider some things.
I know it. Yeah, I've got 4 kids, 10 grandkids, and expecting my 3rd great-grandchild.
Wow, that's awesdo.
3rd grandchild. So, great-grandchild. So, yeah, so I remember years ago we used to pick, what do they call them, Secret Santas from your families. So we would all put our names in a hat. We don't do that anymore. There's just this is just too many of us. You might get a cousin that you don't even know about, or something like that. So yeah. So hopefully we can get this all in gear. We can get this whole Christmas season going. Once again, folks, if you've got any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. Excuse me. Or you can write to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. It's christandcultureshow@gmail.com. And we'll be able to get back with you and give you some answers to some of the most pressing questions that you have. Hopefully we can answer those questions for you. Pastor Tommy, there was a story. I want to start off our lead story today. Many of you heard about the United Healthcare executive, CEO who got killed unceremoniously just a couple of days ago. And there was a manhunt out for this guy, for the suspected killer. And so they made an arrest yesterday about this guy. And so I'm going to read, and this is SRN News story, and they say this is a story about that killer. And it says police arrested a person of strong interest in Monday's brazen Manhattan killing of the United Healthcare CEO after a quick-thinking McDonald's employee in Pennsylvania alerted authorities to a customer who was found with a weapon and writings linking him to the ambush. The 26-year-old man had a gun believed to be the one used in the killing, and writings suggesting his anger with corporate America. Man, this is scary. Police officials said he was taken into custody after police got tip that he was eating at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch said in news. Pastor Tommy, I know you heard about this story. The guy who was actually killed. Gosh, I forgot the guy's name now. Brian Thompson? Yeah, I think his name was Thompson.
Yeah, I think that.
Brian Thompson. So he was killed. The guy made about $10 million a year. He normally had, bodyguards around him. But in this instance, he thought he'd go step out and do something out the door. There was a guy waiting for him, in wait for this guy, and opened fire on him, hit him 3 times, and the last one was a fatal shot. Just crazy. Pastor Tommy, I know the word says that in the final days, in these last days, we'll start seeing an occurrence of this, and not just an occurrence of it, but a prevalence of people killing each other. I just like your reaction when you heard the story about this CEO just being gunned down on the streets of New York.
There's a couple things that went through my mind. First of all, when you hear something like that, like specifically a high-profile case like this, the first question is why. Okay, what did he do? What's the motive behind it? That's just how I think, anyway. Because it wasn't random. It was obvious that it wasn't random. And then the second thing I think about is more spiritually.
Yeah.
Just like you just pointed out, in these last days, just all kinds of craziness. People are literally losing their minds. And Romans 1 talks about that, about people being given over to a reprobate mind. And, again, we talk about this every week. Again, it's prayer. We need to pray, for us and people around us, our loved ones, so that we're protected from those things. I believe in a God that can protect us, because when you read Old Testament, he protected Israel when they were doing right. Right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of things that's going to come out of this, why it was actually done. Somebody of his caliber, there has to be a reason for that. He can't just be saying, oh, the guy makes $10 million, he needs to go. Something happened that's probably going to come out a little bit later.
Yeah, I think you're right, too, because I thought to myself, well, this is just the strangest thing, that a guy would be gunned down in cold blood now on the streets of New York. And, of course, here's the thing about it, is one of the things that they said about him is that there were shell casings that had words etched into them. And not only that, but then he actually had a manifesto. And the manifesto talked about, his feelings towards former mass killers, and also his feelings on the healthcare people. And he said, that these parasites had simply had it coming. And I think to myself, I get it. Okay, I get you're upset. Maybe your aunt or your mom or something like that had it. But for you to take it to the next level and say, you know what, I'm going to just kill somebody.
Right.
This kid had everything going for him. He went to an Ivy League school. He was traveling. He was smart. He had money. As a matter of fact, when they found his backpack, he had $10,000 in it. He's got a passport. He's a good-looking kid. But something in his mind went, no, I just think I want to just go crazy and take the life of another human being. I don't care what somebody's done to you. Say they kill somebody in your family, is it really worth you going out and just cold-bloodedly shooting this guy? The thought process, I'm thinking, what's the thought process behind somebody like this that would drive them to the point where they go, you know what, I'm going to get a gun, I'm going to do, all the things that it took for him to get there, and at the last minute, him still sit there laying in wait, because he waited there all night long, or he waited there all day long, right? What is going through this kid's mind? Pastor Tommy, you've got to take me through. You've got to walk me through what would what would take somebody down that road to get to the point where they're still willing to go through with something like this when they could change their mind?
You know, that probably goes way back to his childhood. That's not something that just it just happens. You know, it might have been a trigger, but that has been something that's taken place over years of time. And what I mean by that is people who have a steady diet of certain things that they watch, they listen to, or the people that they hang around, they begin to take on that mindset, and it begins to fester over years. And so sometimes, a series of triggers can flip the switch in a person's brain after having that steady diet of over years, a long period of time of that negativity. Once those triggers go off, there's a locking mechanism that holds on to that thought. And it becomes emotional. And so, for him to sit there and wait for that amount of time in the cold, because it's cold in New York right now.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And you can see he was bundled up. And there was a witness that was walking by at the same time, and he had no regard for that person. So there was a locking mechanism onto that target, not just physically on the CEO as a target, but that target in his mind, in his brain, of what he wanted to accomplish. And that stems over a period of time of a steady diet of something. He wrote a manifesto.
Yeah.
So there was something happening over a period of time that brought him to this place. And so people have to watch out of what they consume. You know, I'm really I'm really what's the word I'm looking for?
Cautious maybe.
You know, the young people today, they play these video games.
That's it.
For hours and hours and hours.
Sure.
And they don't realize what they're putting into their soul, what they're putting into their mind, and not just the game, but the music behind the game. You know, I was in the music industry. You're a musician.
Sure.
You know, if you've ever gone as far as to record, and you know about things that happens in recording, sometimes they put incantations on music. They pray over music, you know, and these things are behind the scenes. And while you're watching the game, you're not paying attention to the music, the subliminal messages that are being planted in your brain and in your spirit. And so all these things compound, and there comes a point where it explodes just like a volcano.
I think you're right. You know, you mentioned something about video games and how they might have, over a period of time, because this kid's about 26 years of age, right? So he's in that whole, I bet you as they do some research on this kid, they're going to say that this kid was doing a lot of online gaming. And I would think at a certain point, I wrote down the word a seared conscience.
Yes, that's it.
Because how can you cold-bloodedly just walk up to a guy and do like a first-person shooter and just shoot the guy down? It's like, okay, and then you walk
back,
and then you walk away. And it's like, oh my gosh, how could you? Most people who are thinking about hurting somebody have that God moment, right? They have that God moment and they go, yeah, I'm not going to do it. No, I can't do it. No, I can't do it. You know. But we've got a generation of people who are willing to go through with it. I mean, they're willing to go through, shoot somebody, walk away. And this kid planned this whole thing out. So it's like he's watching a video game, right? He's watching a video game that showed him how to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And he's going to walk away from it thinking, oh, I'm good. I'm going to get away with this whole thing. And I think you're right, Pastor Tommy, is that we've got to pray for this generation of young people, because they're being exposed to something that's not natural. It's not natural. It's not like Howdy Doody stuff. You know what I mean? Right? The good guy, you know, rides into town on a horse. You know, bad guy, you know, punch him in the face, and you see pow and stuff like that. They're killing people, and we get to watch some guy die in the middle of the street. Man, scary. This is scary. Well, the guy has got right now. They're nope. They're posting. They're saying nope. He's not getting bail. It's going to be in there. They're going to find out what's going on. We'll keep an eye on that story as it progresses. And in a related story, Daniel Penny, this veteran, and we saw this story once again, New York City, a subway. Many of you probably saw this story as it was playing out the last few years. A Marine veteran used a chokehold on an agitated subway rider, and he was acquitted Monday in a death that became a prism for differing views about public safety, valor, and vigilantism. So the article reads, and it says, a Manhattan jury cleared Daniel Penny of criminally negligent homicide in Jordan Neely's 2023 death. A more serious manslaughter charge was dismissed last week because the jury deadlocked on that count. Penny, who had shown little emotion during the trial, briefly smiled as the verdict was read while celebrating later with his lawyers, and he said he felt great. This guy, Jordan Neely, evidently was a man who had been troubled mentally, was on a subway car and was threatening people, and Daniel Penny, former military guy, stepped in and put the guy in a chokehold, held him down. Him and a couple other guys held him down. Turned himself in after finding out that this guy had actually died, and he never thought anything was going to come of it. He thought, oh gosh, I helped some people out, I saved some people's lives, and then come to find out that no, he was being put on trial for his life because they're going to blame this guy for the death of this psychotic man. This was and I think is going to continue to be one of those stories that is going to play out in the lives of people, because where do you, as an innocent bystander, you're watching somebody getting hurt, where does the natural inclination, and this is what people are arguing, where does the natural inclination of men to be saviors, of men to be, I'm going to go in and save the damsel, what message would this have sent to men, or people are willing to step in there and risk their lives to help somebody else? What message would this have sent to men if Daniel Penny had been convicted of this? And now you've got, because he's not out of the woods on this thing, you've got Jordan Neely's family still pushing a civil lawsuit on this, and then you got Black Lives Matters now jumping in. I saw the story. I saw the people on you probably saw the same thing, where you got this brother gets up and he goes, now it's a racial thing, right? Even though Daniel Penny saved black folks' lives. So your reaction to this, the verdict, and some of the ramifications that are going to be, that you think might come out of this?
It's definitely not racial. I don't care what color you are. You come jumping up and start threatening people. Mm-hmm. It ain't racial.
Yeah, sure.
It's not racial at that point. And so, first thing is, when you're in a situation like that, is two things that come to mind: fight or flight. Mm-hmm. Right? Fight or flight. That's usually what we're faced with. And a lot of times the fight is a result of the fear of a potential disaster, which is why we fight, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're in fear that something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
And fear will cause you to react in ways that you probably wouldn't react if, you had time to actually think about, that. So he had a responsibility. Somebody had a responsibility to act, mm-hmm. because of the situation. Now, when I read the story, he didn't die because of the chokehold.
No.
He was so how could you fault somebody for causing a death in someone where he didn't die from a result of the chokehold? He had a few things wrong with him, mm-hmm. and they said that he died from whatever it was. I can't remember. One was some kind of medicine in his system.
Yes.
and the agitation of the situation. He was already agitated before he was put into a chokehold. So it wasn't it wasn't the chokehold that killed him, which is why he was found innocent. So the thing is, to answer your question about the precedence of that,
Mm-hmm.
if he were to be convicted,
Yeah.
there's another ramification.
Yeah.
Not only will men be slower to react in situations like that because they're worried, well, man, I'm either going to get killed or I'm going to go to jail for
Mm-hmm.
standing up. But now it does become racial
Yeah.
because people will look at it as this white guy got, convicted
Mm-hmm.
for killing this black guy.
Yeah.
I don't care what the ruling actually is. That's how it's going to look, and that's going to cause more damage to the situation that we shouldn't even have in the first place because it's not racial.
Mm-hmm.
But we have people that make it racial. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. He didn't die because of the chokehold anyway. So case over. Case is done.
Yeah, well, I'm really hoping, because unfortunately it's not. Because if there's somebody looking for money, there's somebody, that lawyer, when lawyers get involved in things, they're going to look for every loophole, everything that's going on, which they're supposed to do, okay? They're supposed to protect people, okay? But in this case right here, this man was stepping in to protect somebody. And my hats went up. Now they're going to actually. I don't know if you saw the follow-up story on this. The follow-up story on this was that there's a New York congressman that's putting in for Daniel Penny to win the Congressional Medal of Honor because of this. They're saying he was a hero because, I mean, yes, somebody died in this, but Daniel Penny risked his life because he could have been killed. And you might have done this. I know I've stepped in on an occasion to try to help somebody, but you risk for your life, and that's what we men are supposed to do. I mean, that's what you hope we would do. In the beginning of this country, the Wild Wild West, that was all. You always had that guy with the mustache. He goes, "Ma'am, I'm stepping in to stand up for your honor," right? But as times have gone forward, now you've got these citizens who go, "Nope, not getting involved. Nope, it's not going to happen." And as a result of that, unfortunately, people are getting hurt because people will not step forward. I tend to think that if he had been convicted of this, that would have solidified it. People would have said, nope, not standing in, because I'm darned if I do and I'm darned if I don't, right? And I'd rather save my soul, save my life, than to step in and maybe save somebody else's life. So,
right.
So Daniel Penny, even when I first saw let me get this. We didn't talk about this, but what did you have any reaction to Daniel Penny when he was first charged with this, or looked like he was going to be charged with the murder on this, or aggravated manslaughter?
Well, yeah, because you just wonder, because if you're not there. First of all, I never believe the news. The way they portray things sometimes is not accurate. So I didn't think it was racial initially, like it was brought up, because most of the time when it is presented as being racial, it's not. And so I was curious to see, what the circumstance actually was, and them proving that he didn't die as a result of it. That's pretty much all that matters at this point. However, like you said, it's not over, right? Because you got people trying to. But that's what I don't understand about the civil lawsuits.
Yeah.
A person can be exonerated.
Yes.
But then they still are liable civilly. I do not get that.
I don't either. I don't get that either. And I think it's the burden of proof is not as big, and they only have to have a majority of the people that believe. O.J. Simpson, whether you believe he killed or not, he won. He won on the one hand, but then civilly, the parents came back, sued him, and he lost because they were able to prove the burden of proof was lower. So you didn't have to prove this beyond a shadow of doubt. It's just a majority of people. And that's when they took all of this stuff. And they took his Heisman. They took all this stuff from him. So Daniel Penny, on this case, though, As far as the lawyers that I've heard on this, they say no. They're probably gonna lose on the civil end of this too. And so then, but I don't believe the Black Lives Matters. Those people are trying to make this into a racial thing. That they're going to stop. They're going to try to foment things. They're going to try to do the same thing. The summer of hate is probably going to be reignited. Now it's going to be changed to this guy, instead of it being George Floyd, it's going to be this guy. So gosh, it's just amazing. So bravo to Daniel Penny. We don't think he was guilty. So for those of you that are just watching the show, you're just stepping in. I'm Pastor Sherman. This is Pastor Tommy. This is Christ in Culture, and we come to you once a week and we talk about some of the most trending news that's out there. We give our what we believe the Lord is really directing Christians to that from a Christian worldview. We look at stories and hope that we can give some rhyme and reason to this whole thing, because this world is trying to slant things looking at one way, and you can be really confused in a lot of this stuff too. So if you'd like to give us your comments, go ahead and write to us at Christ and Culture Show. That's Christ and, go ahead and spell the word out. Christ and Culture Show at gmail.com. And if some of you have been watching and trying to get the videos of this, you can go to you can watch it on YouTube, of course, on our Godstream channel on YouTube, or you can go to godstream.org. That's godstream.org, and click on TV shows. Okay, and it's down there. You'll see the series that's down there with Christ and Culture. And so, or if you'd like to just get the audio, just go to Spotify or to Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place, so you can get this show pretty much any place, anywhere. Yeah. There's another story, Pastor Tommy. I don't know if you saw this story. It's a story out of Wisconsin or out of Washington. It's an AP story. The Supreme Court on Monday rejected an appeal from Wisconsin parents who wanted to challenge a school district's guidance for supporting transgender students. This is interesting. I'm going to read just a little bit of it and then kind of give you my take on it. It says the justices acting in the case from Eau Claire left in place an appellate ruling dismissing the parents' lawsuit. 3 justices, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, would have heard the case. That's one short of what is needed for full review by the Supreme Court. So I'm gonna skip down a little ways, and this is really what the story is about. Administrative guidance for gender identity support is what they're talking about here. Encourages transgender students to reach out to staff members with concerns and instructs employees to be careful who they talk about the student's gender identity, since not all students are out to their families. And what the parents are basically saying is, we want to know if our kids are having these issues, if they're wanting to be, if they're a boy that wants to be a girl. Well, in Wisconsin, they're saying, no, you parents shouldn't know anything about it. And so these parents are like, oh, well, wait a minute, these are our kids. These are not your kids. These are our kids. We have the right to know if our kids are having a problem. And if our kids come to you and tell you about it, we need you to tell us about it. And the school district, and they're saying, no, we don't have to do that at all. Pastor Tommy, has the justice system gone amok? Have they gone crazy that parents are losing their right to know what's going on in their kids' lives?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unless the Justice Department is going to pay all our bills, all to raise this kid. First of all, I question the schools that promote this stuff. And it's just a hunch I have. I have no proof. But just looking at it from the outside, this is what I think is going on. These kids have no idea they're kids, right? Mm-hmm. Kids are kids. Mm-hmm. I know when I was a kid, I was a boy, and boys did what boys did and girls did what girls did. But now they're going to school saying boys don't have to do that. Boys can wear dresses. Boys can play with dolls. Girls can play football and wrestle and box with boys. And so the kids are like, what? confused,
Yeah.
because a teacher is a person of authority. So they're thinking, what do you mean? So they're reinforcing it every day. And then they say, hey, I know you're probably having these thoughts, but don't tell your parents. Okay, you
Yes.
don't have to tell you. You could talk to us about this.
Wow.
And if you want to transition, you know what? Don't
We,
tell your parents. We'll take care of you. We'll do
mm,
this. And what do you want to be called, by the way? You want to be called, here's all the things you can be called.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How else is it happening? I don't see it happening any other way.
Yeah.
How else would they know that if they're not getting it at home?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think you're right.
these are questions.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's crazy. There was a saying that says if a scholar or student knows your political persuasion, then you're a terrible teacher. Okay? Right? If a kid knows who you're voting for, if a kid knows if you're married, got kids, where you go to church. Okay, that is not the teacher's job. Okay, I think what has happened is they've crossed the line now, where the teachers are trying to be their best friend of the student. Okay, I understand what they're trying to do is to befriend the kid. Okay, we're not talking about this. Okay, we're talking about a child coming to you saying, "I've got a psychological problem. I've got an emotional problem that I'm dealing with here now." And the teacher's saying, "Don't tell your parents. Okay? Don't tell your parents about it. We'll help you." They wouldn't understand. I would think that the first thing that the teacher would say, "We need to talk to your parents." Okay? That's the first thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school. Call me old school. Old school. When the parent drops off a kid to the school, they don't say, "Okay, this is your problem now." Okay, they go there to learn they drop off the kid, entrusting the kids to you to teach them how to read, write, and do arithmetic. Not what to think, but how to think. Okay, they don't teach the kid, guess what, this is right, this is wrong. Okay, that's not the teacher's job. Reading, writing, arithmetic. So if you start teaching a kid, guess what, that Johnny having two mommies is a right thing, you've crossed the line. That's my job as a parent.
Yep.
And for a kid to come to you and say, "I think I'm Butch when my name is Belinda," the teacher should be going, "Okay, time out. Time out for a second. Let's go back to your parents and talk to you." We've seen this being played out, especially over the last 4 years. So we'll pivot just a little bit. The last 4 years under the Biden administration, we saw just a swing to the left, and the American people 4 years later said in their landmark election results, "We don't like this. We don't like this. We want you out of our bedrooms. We want you out of our bathrooms. We want you out of our locker rooms. We want you out. We're tired of this." And this story from Wisconsin, okay, or New York, it's an AP story, but it's talking about these parents in Wisconsin that they're saying, "You know what, guys? Oh no, excuse me. In Wisconsin, that enough is enough. I think this will probably get to the Supreme Court. I believe that you're going to see a huge swing the other direction because people are tired of this."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think man.
Speaking of that, just off subject, but it goes back to what you were just saying. I just got a text today of an entire city council in California,
Okay.
Huntington Beach, is red.
Is what?
The entire red.
Oh,
Republican.
Really? In California?
The entire city council.
In California. That's let me let that soak in for just a second. Really? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Is pretty crazy.
I
guess prayer.
So there's some red counties in California. I think that's what the Democrats are really fearful of, is that California is going to become a red state again, because it was before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and just like you just pointed out, people are tired of the control
Mm-hmm.
that they have to give up their own kids. We have to give up control of our own kids to people that we don't know. People, we're paying you. Well, even if you go to free public school, you're paying taxes. You're paying local taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially if you're in California, you're definitely paying,
Oh yeah, sure.
local taxes on top of state taxes. But we're paying people to take care of our kids, and then they're turning around taking away the parents' rights
Mm-hmm.
to their own kids. And so, Huntington Beach is right in line of what you're saying. People are tired
Yeah.
of losing control of what they've worked for.
Yeah. So, Pastor Rami, you've got a daughter. You've got several children. And what if all of a sudden you found out that not only was your dear daughter or son having issues with their sexual identity, but that you were never consulted about it, you were never informed about it, but that they took your child across state lines to get puberty blockers, to get them to talk to somebody, and you had no idea about it. I mean, what would be your reaction to this?
Well, first, after you had to put the top of my head back on, because I, I would be so furious.
Oh yeah.
I would have to take a break just to recollect my whole self, because
Mm-hmm.
I would lose it.
Oh yeah.
I would lose it, and I would have to recollect myself, and just I would really have to go to God and say, God, what do I do? Because I
Yes.
am furious right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to do things that I shouldn't. you
Yeah.
know?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
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 The word says that children are a gift of God, right?
Yes.
It didn't say your children are your gift to give to the school district.
Yeah.
you know, or or let your kids just grow up any old way they want. That they're
Yeah.
your gift and they're your charge, right? They're
Yes.
yours, right? So you're supposed to
Yeah.
raise them in the way that they're supposed to go, and that doesn't end because they decide that they're having sexual issues. As a matter of fact, that's
Right.
when you should be called on the most. And parents are having a tough enough time as it is. I mean, we've got
I
a
agree.
generation. We've got a generation of parents right now that are very immature. I mean, they're not
Yes.
just babies; they're immature parents. I know. I work at a school, and so I get to see parents often. And when they come in, I go, "Oh my gosh, no wonder that child is the way that child is." Because I am looking at the parent. So these parents need help as it is. And now you're
Yes.
taking what little they have, what little
Hmm.
input they have on this child, and now you're taking it all the way away from him. Are we looking at the beginning of a nanny state where they're going to take the rights away? If they're going to do this, okay, if they're going to, take your kid and give up puberty blockers or sexual transitioning, what is to say that next year or in another 5 or 6 years, they're just going to say, just drop the kid off. You can pick them up in 18 years.
Yeah. If we don't change right now, that could definitely be a possibility. But we have to do something now about it.
Yeah. I wonder if the schools really understand that people do have a choice. They could take their kids out of those schools and put them in charter schools. There are no shortage of there is still a shortage of charter schools, and which means that this this gives more encouragement to people who want to start charter schools or to take their kids out of public school to put them in a charter school, put them in a private school, put them someplace because it's dangerous. This is a
Yes, it
danger to
is.
the kid because now, unfortunately, and we'll move on to something here in just a second. But there have been kids who have recorded that after transitioning, okay, now the developmental mind of a child doesn't develop all the way till they're about 26ish. People say, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right.
sometimes say it's probably even
Question
older than
that.
that, right? But okay, so we'll just do what they say. Okay, the experts say this. Okay, but you transition a child when they're 15, 16 years of age in 2 more years, they're going, wait a minute, I was just going through a phase, but now you've had parts of them cut off. You've had them sterilized. And now they're coming back and they're going, you did this to me. You mutilated me. And how are we to, if you can't even give a kid an aspirin in school, how are you going to, Pastor Sherman, you've got to talk me up the ledge on this, because I'm going crazy on this whole thing.
You know, you can't understand something that doesn't make sense. You're absolutely right. We have got to, as parents, just like you said, we have to understand that we can take our kids out of these schools that are doing that. And you know, I've chose to homeschool my kids because I saw what was coming, you know, 30 years ago. This is not anything new, right? And so we are here where we're at because of where it started. But you know, you're right. It doesn't make sense. If you can't give a kid an aspirin, you know, you have to have parental consent to get, hey, your kids, you got to get a phone call. Hey, your kid's having a headache and, you know, they don't want to go home, but can we give an aspirin?
Yeah.
But here and now, you want to, don't tell your parents.
Don't tell them.
We're going to take you down. We're going to take you to the next state over and chop some things off and, you know, unplug this and unplug that. And we'll bring you back.
I know.
It doesn't make sense.
We got to pray for parents. We just do. It's just crazy.
Yes.
You know, some of you probably know about this thing. So you're watching the show right now, and you're saying, you know, I've heard about this. I heard something about it. You guys, we're not trying to scare you. We are not trying to scare you, okay? But we are letting you know the reality. The reality is that your children, the safest place you would think your child should be at, may not be the safest place. Okay, there's dangers out there, and sometimes don't just let your kid go to school and not check in what they're doing. You know, because you've got to be vigilant, because they, you know, you're. Like I said, I work at a school. I see kids all the time. I see the phases they're going through, and unfortunately, a child going through a public school is at risk. I mean, I don't know other way to say it. But especially here in Wisconsin, I'm thinking, my gosh, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. If a parent you want the parents going to the PTA meetings, you want the parents to come in and be the school mom, you know, but then when the kid has, you know, issues, you're going, no, that's fine. No, you can't be a part of this. And so this is scary. You know, there's another story, Pastor Tommy, and this is it's perplexing to me. This is out of New York, and so the title of the article is "The Oldest Known Stone Tablets Inscribed with the Ten Commandments." It's going to be auctioned off. This is fascinating. The oldest known stone tablet inscribed with the Ten Commandments, dating from 300 to 800 A.D. This is old. Will be sold in New York this month at Sotheby's auction house. 155-pound marble slab inscribed with the commandments in Paleo Hebrew script will be auctioned off on December 18th. So here's the interesting thing about it is that let me get to it. Where's it at? Okay. Oh gosh, where was it at? So part of this is the interesting thing about it, that this stone tablet was being used as a walkway, was part of until somebody saw it and they went, "Hey, that looks like something important." Oh my gosh. Okay, here it is. So the tablet was unearthed during a railroad excavations along the southern coast of Israel in 1913 and was first not recognized as a historically significant artifact. It was used as a paving stone at a local home until 1943. Really? Pastor John, your thoughts on this stone tablet? Significant, do you think?
You know, I just had a couple questions
Yeah,
regarding that. One article, did it say it had commandments on there?
it said it had 10 commandments on it. Yeah.
So okay, let's back up a minute. Let's rethink this whole thing.
Oh, here we go. Come on.
The years the years were 800 to 300 BC,
Oh,
right?
yep.
Or 300. Adam was still alive.
No, not BC. AD.
AD. I'm sorry.
AD. Yes. No. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. I was about to say, wait, hold on.
I'm sorry. So you were going, wait a minute, that doesn't add up there.
That doesn't add up. Okay, so 300. All right. So it definitely wasn't, from way back then, but
Yeah.
or even Moses' time.
Yeah.
But that is pretty interesting. Who wrote it? I mean, that's pretty interesting that they would have a tablet that big, because didn't it weigh like 155 pounds?
155 pounds. Yeah, it was a marble slab.
It definitely wasn't something that Moses carried down from the mountain, and he had two
No,
of them.
no,
So we
no.
know
Yeah.
that's for sure. But that is pretty interesting, though, that that it would be used as a walkway.
Hmm. In the
People
40s.
stood on. I guess that's what they meant by stand on the word. But
That's a good one. I like that.
when you think about it, the guy who saw it, can you imagine that elation?
Mm.
Finding out what that is,
Yeah.
and then having it dated at that period of time.
Oh yeah. I think it would have been crazy. They're saying that it's going to be going on auction. It'll probably sell between $1 and $2 million for this. Now,
Wow.
now, did you see they were going to sell Dorothy's ruby slippers?
Yeah, I saw that.
I thought they're going to sell for like $13 million or something like
Yeah.
that. $1 million for the Word of God and a couple of red shoes that somebody wore on TV. They're selling for much more. I would love to. So something strange about this, and probably has nothing to do with it. They said Jewish tradition. Excuse me. It says the text inscribed on the slab follows the biblical verses familiar to Christians and Jews, but omits the third commandment against taking the name of the Lord in vain, which is very interesting. It includes a new directive to worship on Mount Gerizim, a holy site specific to the Samaritans. Sotheby says. So that would be interesting. I don't know if that. Maybe they should do some more background on this thing. I saw that was very unusual. I thought, huh. So it's a
I saw that too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it was a part of a walkway.
Yeah, somebody said, no, this isn't right. But
God didn't think it was holy, so yeah, go ahead and put that down over there.
I know, just put it over there. Really, gosh, it's amazing. There's another story. We just got a couple more things I want to talk about here today. There's a victory for religious liberty and religious freedom in New York. They said in Waterville High School, it has decided to allow a Bible study club to be established after initially rejecting the group as too religious. You think so? If it's a Bible study, I guess it would be pretty religious. They say under threat of a lawsuit by First Liberty, school officials will allow the club to form, as it has an LGBTQ club and other student organizations. First Liberty spokesman Keisha Russell says, by denying the same benefits to the Bible club that it provides to all non-curricular clubs, the school has missed the concept of equal in the Equal Access Act. Now, it's interesting that they would allow an LGBTQ club to form, but they say, yeah, you guys studying this Bible, you might be a little too religious. So, what do they think is going to happen? Are these kids going to? Oh, they're going to probably be good, right? They'll probably start following the Bible, or heaven forbid, they won't be getting pregnant. They might go to school. They might be honoring their mom and dad. I mean, what? Does your reaction to that, Pastor Rami?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about too. It's okay to bend somebody's gender, but it's not okay for them to tell the truth, you know.
Yeah.
And they say, you know, all the time I hear people, don't preach to me. I don't want to hear what your God says. I don't want to know about that. But they're the ones who are out promoting their lifestyle and what they
Mm-hmm.
do, and that's okay. For some reason they see it different, and that it's okay to have that kind of club.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's too religious to have the truth in there. So good for them that they were able to see the light, so to say. And I don't mean
Yes.
that as a pun, but that's what it is.
Today, if you decided as an adult that you wanted to start a Bible study in your school, you could not do it. And this is interesting, but a person who is homosexual can start an LGBTQ club
Yep.
at any school. And the reason why I know this is because that was going on at the school I work at.
Yeah.
That you now the kid can start a religious club, but a parent can't or an adult can't come in. And so the interesting thing about it is kids are recognizing it though. Kids are going, no, we don't want to be a part of that club. We don't want to. We don't want that as a something where, and it's not as though they're hating kids that are different. Kids hate everybody, right? They're kids,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't really matter if you're gay or not. You know, they're going to hate you.
Right.
But they recognize that no, we're not going to encourage that. We won't say anything about you if that's the way you're going to be. Hey, we're not going to judge you, but we're not going to be a part of that. But as far as the law goes, though, the law is saying no. As an adult, you cannot start a club like that. And I think there's something fundamentally wrong with that. What say you, Pastor Tommy?
Yeah, you know, some schools even have Satan clubs, and they
Wow.
won't allow a Bible club. There was a couple of different schools in the nation in the news about that. Um, but yeah, it's, you know, if we get to the place where we have strong kids, whether through our youth group or our own kids,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we can influence that. You know, that's an avenue. You know, just take it and run with it, and you know, teach them how to make disciples and
Mm-hmm.
preach the gospel. If they're not going to let us do that, let's take what we have and make it work.
Yeah, true. You know, I'm praying. So we're really in prayer because that was one of the things the Lord put on my heart a couple of years back was to start a school. It was actually a long time ago, but to have a Christian school. And because there needs to be, especially this day and age, there needs to be an opportunity or an option for parents, because if you don't give them options, they'll go to what's easy. It's tough enough for parents as it is, but given that if they get the opportunity, if they get the option of sending their kid to a Christian school as opposed to a school that is a secular school, they will take the Christian school every time. Especially if they know their kids are going to get a great education. So it's tough enough being a parent. I mean, it really is. And they can't leave their kids out there like that. So,
You know, I taught in a Christian school here in Las Vegas for 2 years when I first got here.
mm-hmm.
And you're right. There were several families that were not a part of the church, not confessing to be Christians,
Mm-hmm.
not living a Christian life, but they saw the value in sending their kids to a private school versus a public school because they knew what they were going to get. And a couple of those kids were, I don't want to call them troubled, but if they would have went to public school, they absolutely would have been troubled.
Yeah.
And I got an opportunity to minister to these kids and be a godly influence on them, giving them structure, giving them love too at the same time. And you know, they began to flourish. They began to get along with people better. They began to get their grades higher. And so you're right. You know, it's a great alternative for people who really don't have a choice but to put their kids in public school that don't really want to.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we're looking for it. Well, we need to be in prayer about that because we're looking for people that will come alongside of us and say, yeah, we believe in that. Believe in what the vision the Lord's given you also. We've just got a couple of minutes left, Pastor Tommy. So Notre Dame was the Gothic cathedral, the Gothic Catholic cathedral in France was they celebrated its reopening over the weekend. And I mean, a ton of people were there, very excited about that. So whether you believe in Catholicism or not, I think in France, anything that is godly is welcome. So your thoughts about all the people that were actually there that came back to celebrate the reopening of this grand structure.
Yeah, I saw a lot of world leaders that actually attended.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of memes, I guess, with President Trump and Joe Biden. That was kind of funny. But yeah, it's curious to see how this is going to stay in the news. Is probably just one and done. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but you never want to see any type of church being burned down. But you definitely, hopefully, the true gospel will be preached there. And
I wonder if this will be a spark to spark a renaissance in France, because France has been going this way as far as the influence of the church in France. I think so. My former pastor used to go there all the time because he's French Canadian, and so his heart was to the French people. And I think France, the number of people who are Christian there, professing Christians, was 1%. That's huge. I mean, when you basically got a country that basically says, no, we don't want God anymore, and they've gone pagan as a country, as a rule. Now, we're not saying that most countries, are not Bible-believing countries, because there's only, I think, one maybe, majority of people are Christians. That would be America. But to be 1% Christian is just scary. So maybe this return of Notre Dame, when people go, you know what, we almost lost, a national treasure. Oh, by the way, didn't they worship this Yahweh there? Maybe it'll be something that will bring them back to at least looking at the gospel. Amen.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah, 1%. And there's Muslim countries that have more than 1% Christian. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? That's why his heart went out to France so much, because he would go over there every year and then found out that it's not even like they're open to it. They're not even like open to the gospel. And that was 10 years ago. So this, it's kind of a scary place. I'd like to end the show by talking about, and we don't really have time for it. Gosh, we're not going to do it. We just don't have time for it. But Pastor Tommy, it's Christmas time. We're going into the next couple weeks. We'll actually be going into really churches reaching out to people, planning their Christmas service. Pastor Tommy, I want to give you the opportunity right now to give you the chance to talk to people about your church, about what you guys are going to be doing, and possibly maybe give people an invitation. So the next couple of weeks, that's what we'll be doing also, is be giving people saying, hey, guess what? Come on out to our church. So talk about, your church a little bit, and what you guys are doing.
Actually, we've been focusing a whole lot more on prayer lately, as far as getting together and pray. We're praying in person and then praying over Zoom, because we have some people. We have a local group here, but we also have people that tap in from different parts of the country. But we're just planning to just spend time in prayer and Thanksgiving. I know Thanksgiving was a holiday that just passed, but Thanksgiving for us as believers literally should be every day.
Yeah.
And we're praying, to have the right mindset for the next year, for this not just the year but the season that we're going into.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of political things that are happening, not just in this country, but we've got a country that just went under. We've got governments that are folding up, and all this affects us.
Yeah.
Right? We got a new war that just started. Um, all these different things. So we've got a country that had two coup attempts in the last week. That is our ally, South Korea.
Yeah.
So I'm rallying the troops to pray, because we need prayer in this time, and that's really what's been on our heart. And so that's what we're doing. We're spending a lot of time in prayer with that. And so flamingwordlv@gmail.com if you want to reach us. And then we're going to start live streaming soon too. We've got most of the equipment. I'm still waiting for my camera. It's supposed to be here sometime this week. So once that gets set up, I'll let you know about that. But yeah, so that's what we're doing.
flamingwordlv@gmail.com. Very cool. So excited about that, and excited to see you guys up and get your stuff all out on the internet and stuff like that. So, once again, Pastor Tommy, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show. We've been having fun. We've been having fun.
Yes.
Putting on this, and can't wait for next year to see what the Lord is going to do also with Christ in Culture. So, Pastor Tommy, we will see you again next week, okay?
All right. God bless.
God bless you, too. We'll see you later. And, folks, I want to thank you guys for being a part of the broadcast today for Christ and Culture Show. Once again, if you'd like to check out the show after we're off the air, go to godstream.org and then just go to the TV show tab. Okay, we're right there on the TV shows where Christ and Culture show is at. I'm Pastor Sherman Ray. Thank you once again for being a part of the show, folks. We will see you again next week. Same time, same channel for Godstream channel or on Christ and Culture. We'll talk to you later, folks. Bye-bye.